Have a little faith in me. 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 When your secret heart cannot speak so easy, come here, darling, from a whisper start. Have a little faith in me. When your back's against the wall, just turn around, you will see. I will catch you, I will catch your fall. Just have a little faith in me. 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 I've been loving you for such a long, long time, baby. Expecting nothing in return, just for you to have a little faith in me. You see, time is our friend for you and me. There is no end. All you gotta do is have a little faith in me. I said, I hold you up, I hold you up. Strength is enough to have a little faith in me. Hey, baby, oh, baby, all you gotta do is have
The music is nice. members. And
Okay.
Shake those hands. 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 Stroke my hair, scratch my nose, hug my knees. Try drink, food and cigarette. Tension will not ease. I tap my fingers, fold my arms, breathe in deep, cross my legs, shrug my shoulders, stretch my back. But nothing seems to please. I need contact. I need contact. Nothing seems to please. I need contact. Oh, I need contact. Yes, I need contact. Shake those hands. Tap, contact. Shake those hands. Tap, contact. Shake those hands. Tap, contact. Shake those Father, stop criticizing your son. Mother, please leave your daughters alone. Don't you see that's what's wrong with the world today? Everybody wants somebody to be their own piece of clay. Oh, everybody wants somebody to be their own piece of clay. We all talk of kindness, but it's only a word. Truly, brother, turn on sister in this cruel world. That's what's wrong with this world today. Everybody wants somebody to be their own piece of clay. Everybody wants somebody to be their own piece of clay. Somebody to play with, wanna mold you, shape you like they want to do the thing. Children are told to give and not just to take. If we were all children.
okay, that was a Greek coffee break. 15 minutes and lasted for around 40. All right. Now, we are in the next session. And this session is moderated by Professor Georgios or George Karagiannidis, also Professor Tsanaktsidis Konstantinos, who will discuss integrating engineering expertise into defense needs. Dr. Roxana Andrei, correct, who will provide perspectives in interdisciplinary collaboration. Mr. Yannis Atselens, who will share examples of successful public-private partnership, and Professor Alexandros Hatzigeorgiou, who will highlight academia's role in shaping skilled professionals. Please welcome Professor Karagiannidis and his esteemed panelists.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my privilege to welcome you to this important session, which is related to the cooperation between education and research providers. Our discussion will focus on three interconnected pillars. The first is the public-private partnerships and their role in fostering innovation and skills development. The second pillar is the collaboration between industry and academia, and especially how universities and defense contractors can work together effectively. The last but not least pillar of this discussion is the opportunities and challenges that rise related to the training of the next generation scientists and engineers in defense. The defense sector has long been a leader in cutting-edge technology, but maintaining that leadership requires more than advances in hardware or software. It requires a skilled, adaptable workforce and robust collaboration among key stakeholders, government, private companies, research institutions, and educational institutions. Our panelists bring a wealth of experience and diverse perspectives to these issues. But let's start by introducing our colleagues here in the panel. First, I will introduce the lady of the panel, Dr. Roxana Andrei. He is a researcher on energy security and hybrid warfare. He works in the Center for International Studies in this is a research institute connected to the University of Lisbon. Am I right?
University Institute of Lisbon.
Of Lisbon.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Roxana Andrei is an experienced researcher in the field of energy security, as I said, defense and maritime security, currently working on increasing the resilience and protection of critical energy infrastructure and on countering by hybrid threats to the European energy infrastructure and supplies. Roxana also holds extensive knowledge and expertise in the field of international security and conflict analysis. The second speaker comes from Latvia, and he is Yannis Atselens, who he works for the Latvia Federation of Defense and Security Industries. The other two speakers are my colleague from two Greek universities. First, the Alexander Hatzigeorgiou, who is professor of software engineering in the Department of Applied Informatics at the University of Macedonia, here in Thessaloniki. He is currently serving as Vice Rector of Extroversion and International Relations. And the last speaker is Professor Tsanaktsidis. He is professor at the Department of Chemical Engineering at University of Western Macedonia. He is a chemist, graduated from University of Ioannina, and his research focused on subjects with conformational and dynamic properties of bioorganic compounds in pollution control technology. Okay, to avoid any delay, let's start with some questions. I will ask you mainly 3 questions, and if we have time, I will add some more. The first question is, what models of public-private partnerships have been successful in advancing defense skills? Let's start with Professor Tsanaktsidis.
Yes. First of all, good afternoon to all. Dear George, every time we meet, something very interesting happens. So we must meet often. I would also like to emphasize the importance of this conference because it brings the academic community closer to the defense industry companies. And believe me, it's not easy this for the Greek reality. So I am a professor at the Chemical Engineering Department. Our university is a new university. We have a new campus in Kozani, and we try to play an important role in development of academic community in my region. So about the skills and the other possibilities to grow up the cooperation between companies and universities. Let me speak about our experience. So we have organized a new company to base these skills. The name of this company is Company for Interconnecting Defense Industry, High Education, and Research. The short title is Defense EduNet, and include 5 universities from north of Greece, research centrum, and many companies from SEKPY. There is a council for this new company. The company is not profit company. There is a council. President is Mr. Zolis. George and I have the honor to be member of this company. Mr. Nodaros and Mr. Banos have an important role for this activity. And through this company, bring together the skills from professors and from executive of companies. And this is the reason to have great opportunities for this cooperation. What is the specific action to the skills of this company? We want to inform our members about the business opportunities. And I said before about my region. In my region, nowadays, we have energy transition. So we are going to use renewable energy sources, and for this reason, we have investment opportunities. So we want strong skills for this, and from companies and from universities. And now we want to organize a new office in our region, exactly to inform the members about the projects and the opportunities to invest in someone in energy and other issues. So the first step for the cooperation between companies and universities to grow up the skills is at the institutional level, new non-profit companies to base the professors, the executive of companies, and I think in the future, this is a model to follow in the other regions and other universities.
Thank you very much. I think I also agree with you. I think that Defense EduNet is a very interesting initiative for the collaboration between industry and academia. So let's now hear from a researcher from Portugal about this question. I repeat the question. What models of public-private partnerships have been successful in advancing defense skills?
First of all, good afternoon to everyone, and many thanks to SEKPY for the invitation to join the conference. I will bring you my own example in a dual role. I'm a researcher at the University Institute of Lisbon, but I'm also a senior expert with the European Defense Agency. And one successful model that I would like to talk to you about today is the EDA's Consultation Forum for Sustainable Energy in the Defense and Security sector. And I have been in this project for the past 6 years, and I have seen the big change it made when the project opened to the industry, to the researchers, and to the academia. Initially, it was reserved for the MODs. It's not the case anymore, and now with this opening, we have 3 main working groups, plus transversal groups. We can see already projects being implemented. So it's not just discussions. We see feasible models being tested, pilots, projects being tested in order to make the defense industry more resilient and also to increase the defense of the critical energy infrastructure in Europe, but also to utilize renewable energy in the defense sector, because Konstantinos was already mentioning the use of renewable energy. And this project, it's a long-term project. Its 4th phase will start now, in the end of this year or the beginning of next year, and it is open. It is open for you from the industry, it is open for you from the MODs and from the academia to join, to bring your inputs, because what we have identified in the studies that we perform, and I also authored one of the studies, is a major gap in the knowledge transfer. There is knowledge in Europe, but it's not transferred from one sector to another, or even from one similar institution to another. And with respect to skills, what we found out in the most recent study we performed for the protection of the offshore critical energy infrastructure is that we need very specialized programs, both for the military and for the civilian sector. And we need to bring people together from these 2 sectors, not to have a gap anymore between them, and to offer specialized and cross-sectoral curricula with respect to the hybrid warfare, with respect to energy security, but also to the legal, complex legal regime that governs this sector, because it's not just about defense, it's not just about energy anymore. We live in very complex geopolitical times where the workforce needs specific skills. And from this project, a baby project was born, Symbiosis, which is dedicated to renewable energy in the offshore sector, and it follows the same principle, bringing together industry, bringing together the militaries and the academia and the research in order to map the 5 hotspots, maritime regions in Europe, in order to see how the defense and the energy offshore infrastructures can coexist. We talk about dual and even multi-use functionalities. So these are 2 examples I wanted to bring forward to you today, and I warmly invite you to look them up and to join us for the next activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now let's hear the opinion from someone who works in the industry, especially in the defense and security industry, because all the other 3 here come from the academia, okay, or from a research institute, but Yannis comes from the industry. So, please.
Yassas, good afternoon. Thanks, colleagues from SEKPY for organizing this beautiful conference, and Professor Georgios for introduction. As he already told that I am representing the Latvian industry, and what we are doing and what I believe that such industry federations or associations are meant for is creating platform for networking. And this platform for networking is not only for business to business or business to government. One of the most important thing is business to academia. And what we have as a federation worked for years now, and where we see success is bringing academia and business together in creation of R&D facilities. So universities and research institutions are creating and facilitating these R&D facilities, but the business is bringing in ideas and money and possibility for the academics to work and develop new ideas that is useful for the business. That's what something that I could add for this question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Yannis. Professor Hadjigeorgiou.
Thank you for the invitation and the introduction. First of all, I think that we don't have to reinvent the wheel in order to find ways to promote the collaboration between the public and the private sector. We can simply adopt practices, best practices from all over the world. Let me first re-stress the importance of this Defense EduNet cluster. Yes. You can see the logo on the bottom right of the slide. It's an alliance of 14 members under the cooperation of SEKPY, a very successful case of collaboration. The primary goal is to bridge the research carried out in universities and research institutes with the needs and the applications of the defense sector. One of the secondary goals is to identify skill shortages and address them, if possible, by aligning university curricula to the needs of industry. Another very successful way or means of collaboration is a very common one, the collaboration of universities and other public bodies with the private sector in order to form joint research schemes and participate in the context of funded research programs like EDF, which has been quite successful for Greece partners as well. Addressing research challenges and developing prototypes is a very fruitful way for both empowering people in industry, but also for encouraging students in university labs to acquire the skills which are needed. The final remark is about the landscape, which is very challenging. It's challenging not only for the professionals seeking a job, it's also challenging for the industries in order to get to them. We know that from many sectors, not only from the defense sector. To provide some indicative figures, in the IT sectors, we know that in Greece, Greek universities have an output, a production, if I may say, of 3.5 thousand graduates per year on IT-related topics, let's say ICT sector. Someone might believe that this is sufficient for a country like Greece. However, there is a recent report by Deloitte identifying a skill shortage of 7 to 7.5 thousand professionals per year up to year 2030. So there is an identified skill gap. How we can address it, in my opinion, the best way to do that is through reskilling. It's not possible, however investments government puts, to have graduates in a single field in that numbers. However, you can quite easily reskill people from other closely related subjects to ICT, and by easily I mean after training of maybe 6 months or a year. And to name again an example, there have been professional graduate programs in Greece, not many. In Thessaloniki, we have the first one in the University of Macedonia, where a company supports and funds such a graduate program, and the goal is to reskill people from other domains in order to transform them to ICT professionals.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Hadjigeorgiou. Let's continue on your thoughts, and in this second round of discussion, let's try to answer to the question, how can industry and academia collaboration can enhance the effective skill development, let's say, of a new researcher or of a new of new guys that want to work in the defense industry. Please. Yes.
I think it's very important that the sector, the research sector in the cooperation between universities and defense industry companies. First of all, we could define the research priorities: energy, green technology, climate, security. And I think for this direction, it's very important for the companies to become environmentally friendly. It's necessary, I think, for every organization to have this law. So I think if a company wants to achieve this, the fuels is one important sector. We could research about the hydrogen, if this can be a fuel, about the methanol, about the biodiesel in the shipping, if we can use this with the marine fuels. Especially for the biodiesel, nowadays is very important for the shipping. You know, in marine fuels, when we use marine fuels, the biggest problem is the sulfur content. So, because the sulfur after combustion give the oxide of sulfur, this is very toxic for the atmosphere. Let me speak about our experience in our laboratory. Using 10% biodiesel with the marine fuel, we produce a new blend, a new fuel, which have lower sulfur content. And if we can use this fuel about a period 5 years, 2011, 2015, we could reduce the sulfur in the fuels of shipping 2,000 tons. And this is only one case. I think it's very strong sector, the research and the cooperation for the research between companies and universities. And for this direction now, we have a usable tool. There is a law, a new law, the Minister of Education support economically the cooperation between companies and universities, you know, about the industrial PhD, and there is a strong economical support when company and university prepare issue for the PhD thesis. So if we can use this law, I think is a very strong step to give the opportunity between the research cooperation, companies and universities.
Okay, thank you. I will give the floor to Roxana, and I will ask her also to, if there is an example like in Portugal, like the Defense EduNet that we mentioned several times here. Just please try to, it would be useful to comment on this.
Yes, actually, there is an example that comes to my mind now. It's a project, EU SCORES project, which was funded under the Horizon 2020 program. And it deals with maritime security, and it brought together industry and also research and academia. And within this project, which is dedicated to developing and deploying hybrid renewable offshore installations, either wind to solar or solar to wave, one institute in Portugal, in Porto, the Institute for Technology and Science, developed 2 robots. They have already been successfully tested in the Atlantic Ocean, and they are already probably going to be deployed very soon next year. So the 2 robots can perform very complex autonomous activities like inspection of the subsea cables and pipelines, repair activities, but also monitoring against threats. So with this, the industry, the defense and the energy industry benefits from the knowledge and from the innovation existing in the research field. But we can also think that this can be beneficial for the MODs as well, given the nowadays situation, geopolitical situation in the seas and in the oceans of Europe. So we can see how, with the help of EU funding, one small, actually, team of researchers in the second largest city of Portugal managed to bring forward such amazing, I believe, initiative.
Okay. Yanis, is there any example of tight collaboration between academia and industry in Latvia?
Yeah, what comes to my mind, how to enhance the skill creation by collaboration between academia and industry. I think a beautiful example was made by my colleague by this creation of small mini programs aimed specifically for skill set needed by industry, and the companies are coming together and making these small programs for reskilling graduates, giving them a specific set of skills that they could use later in the specific industries like defense and security industry. I think this is where the future lies.
Okay.
Well, quite often when we have this discussion about collaboration between industry and university, the plans that we hear are a bit abstract or vague. Because I'm an engineer by training, I don't like these abstract plans, but I think there are very concrete tools that we could apply and have been applied in most of the Greek universities and European universities. Examples are like joint submission of research proposals, which I already mentioned. Joint educational offerings which can take the form either of formal programs leading to a degree or short-term academic offerings. Joint supervision of bachelor or diploma thesis. The industry quite often does not know that a postgraduate student, not even a PhD candidate, can generate outstanding results, even simply by having a stimulus from industry. Not even the guidance, only the definition of a problem. Beyond this joint supervision, the invitation of lecturers who come from industry in our courses, this is highly efficient. The alignment of curricula to match the needs of industry. The participation of industry experts in the industrial advisory boards that have formed in many departments. And finally, a very effective tool is the industrial placement, which is an integral part in many programs of study, where students spend one semester or 1 year in industry. This can be a perfect tool for advancing the skills of people within university to match the needs of industry and defense industry in particular.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if the existing regulation from the governments, the Greek governments, can support all these initiatives that you mentioned. So
to some extent,
I'm not sure about that. But let's hope in the future to make it. So we have 5 minutes. Please, a quick question. If there is the possibility to create internship programs in the defense sector.
Yes, in chemical we have a magic word. The word is synthesis. It's a Greek word. So I think we must go to the synthesis between companies and universities at the institutional level, at the research level, and at educational level. For this direction, we propose to organize a master programs for this cooperation. With these master programs, the target is to high-level executive for the companies and to high-level executive for the defense industry. For this direction, I think the Greek university has an important role. Thanks.
Yes, in Portugal, our master programs already include the third semester dedicated to internships, and I'm happy to see that in the last couple of years we managed to attract more militaries and policemen to our programs, which is the other way around, let's say, of linking academia to the field. But I still think that we lag a bit behind in terms of internships in opening a bit the defense industry to civilian
from the academia
interns. Yes.
from this direction.
Yes, this is still a step that we have to overcome in the near future, but let's hope we are getting there soon.
Okay, thank you. In Latvia, is there any experience about internships?
Yeah, I think already at the beginning of conference, some of the speakers mentioned that one of the obstacles is this security clearance for students working in our specific industry. But I would say that the issue that I see bigger than security clearance is the mentorship capabilities in the industry. So you have to create this group of mentors who are taking care of the students coming from the universities, and this requires a specific skill set for those people that on a daily basis is working with the business-related things. So this is maybe something that also would need some enhanced collaboration between universities and industry to make a specific mentorship program for company employees to go through and be able to receive new people, students, as interns. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Professor Hadjigeorgiou.
At the University of Macedonia, we have a very rich experience with internship programs, however, not with the defense sector. This is something that we would like to pursue in the future. A few key factors. It is very important that the internship position matches the curriculum as much as possible. The second important thing, in my opinion, is to provide to the intern student soft skills. Soft skills are nice, but they should also equip him with hard skills, because hard skills is the way to go further, to catch the ones who are in the global race far ahead of us. And it's also important to monitor these internships, how well they operate, and promote them as widely as possible. So I think with this sort of clearances, this is an obstacle that we have to tackle. It is doable.
You're right. Okay, we have time for one question. Yes, please. For two questions.
Thank you very much. My name is Kostas Diamantaras. I'm the Vice Rector of the International Hellenic University. Three of the panelists, including the discussion leader, are members of the Defense EduNet, which was mentioned more than once in this discussion. I would like from you to comment about the progress of this collaboration with the industry and academia so far. Thank you.
Okay, Kostas, and please try to be.
We have organized the Defense EduNet, and now we have 1 year, I think.
Yes, almost
1 year for the first idea. And at the beginning, it's a romantic, I think, idea. George knows about this.
Yes.
But now we see more interest from the universities, a strong interest from the universities. And for this reason, we hope in the future to participate in other universities. Until now, we inform our members about the investment opportunities in every region. We participate in national and the European programs about the energy, especially about the energy, but it's not only the energy. And now we try to prepare especially master program for administrative and technical executive from the defense industry. If we do this, I think it will be very, very strong opportunity for the members of the universities and for the companies.
Alexander, do you want to?
Well, it's very
a
recent.
A few
words. I think we should set up some KPIs. It would be nice if by this time next year we could have, for example, a few products which could be the result of this collaboration. If possible, 1 or 2 spin-offs coming from the universities in this very sector. And it would also be nice if we could have companies from the defense sector present in the career days of our universities, which is nowadays not happening, at least not largely here in Thessaloniki. All this could be indicators for the second year of operation.
This is not an easy fact for all universities. You understand why?
I know very well what you mean.
Understand why? But I think in your university, it is possible to do it. Okay, one more question, please.
So we're coming from Athens University of Economics and Business, and we have a unit at the Management Science Laboratory, which is operational research, business data analysis, and basically horizontally taking every skill there is for optimization of decision making. And we concentrate on defense. My PhD is on the change management of defense systems. Where we find an issue is to create the TRL2, bridging it to TRL3 with the prototypes. So where the funding is lacking is where we stop the progress. So a question is, what type of measures can we get to bridge that with SEKPY or rector-based initiatives? And in view of actually minding the gap between what is not going to become obsolete. So the research that we see coming out, it's not the one that is needed by the EDF, and we really need to concentrate to getting theses and work, research-based work, to these areas, to the really gap analysis for the very sector each professor is concentrating. Master's internships, of course, but let's go back to the question.
Okay, Roxana, if you want to make a comment, yes.
Just a very brief comment. Yes. I believe it's up to us educators, first of all, to be proactive and to guide and streamline our students in order to do research and to perform even innovation in a field that matches the needs of today's needs of the defense industry and the defense sector in general, not just the industry, I would say. I'm aware that in some countries and in some universities it's quite difficult to change and to adjust the curricula. However, I believe there is a margin for all of us, at least when we act as supervisors, to do this. But I think it should come from us. It's our responsibility, first of all.
And I want to say that for us, for all of them, to work at the universities, it's very important to give the opportunity not only the professors, but and the students, and not postgraduate students. I mean the students who watch the lessons. We want to give them the opportunity to implementation in these programs. And I think for this direction, all of the universities has a common target.
If I may add, I know that many Greek universities have initiatives in order to support these early stages of research. They have, for example, programs where they reward high-quality publications. They provide some sort of seed funding for new research programs, or they incentivize by monetary means the participation in in alliances for submitting proposals. The problem, in my opinion, lies in the fact that they are doing that in a sort of open call, addressing all sorts of research and challenges. Whereas for administration, it would be important to focus on particular areas where we can excel. And I think the defense sector is one of them.
Okay, we have no time, so thank you very much for your attendance.
For more details,
thank you very much.
Out of the...
Thank you very much.
A photo, I think a photo, yes, a photo.
Now, let's wait. I think we have representatives from DG, DEFIS here, because there is also the SMERO program for cooperation, collaboration, also research, collaboration between small, medium enterprises and research organizations and academia. Yes, yeah, okay, in 5 minutes. Yes. another information. All these sessions are being recorded, and there will be also the proceedings after the session that will be released after the end of the conference. 2 days, 2 months, okay, 2 months, all right, 2 months. So, in 2025. Just need to wait for a few minutes for our guests to attach the microphones. Shall I sing? No. To entertain people. Yes, Mr. John. Later on. Later. Be patient. And I want to tell this. I don't know, we have a discussion before about the public-private industry cooperation. I don't know about info days or career days organized by universities. Because my experience living in Cyprus and also having a company in Greece is not the best one regarding the career days, how we inform the students about companies, about needs, about required skills. All right. Also, people are asking how we go to military club this afternoon. If there are buses, I don't think so. I don't know. No, yes, no, there are no buses. We can take a taxi. It's just, I think, 5, 7 euros. But the point is not the price. The point is how to find a taxi. And probably I will ask Mr. Novaros if he has experience. I'm using free now. So I can call, I can wait for a taxi for 7 minutes, 8, 10. By the time they are preparing just to read the names, so the next session examines how education and research providers can collaborate to advance defense skills. Looks like the previous one, but now we're talking about collaboration to advance defense skills. And this is moderated by Dr. Liga Baltina. This session with future panelists who will bring unique insights. For instance, Professor Fotini Asderaki, who will discuss building international defense education networks. Professor Chrysostomos Stilios, who will highlight the role of research centers in skills development. And also Mr. Paul Mandras, who will provide insights into resilience-oriented research. And finally, Dr. Janos Seteni, who will share strategies for standardizing defense education across Europe. Now we're waiting for the panelists. I think 1, 2 more are coming. All right. Yes, please. Yes. So welcome, please, our panelists and also Dr. Liga Baltina from Italy. Am I correct?
The company is from Italy, yes.
The company, okay. Fondazione Giacomo
Fondazione Giacomo
Brodolini.
Brodolini. So I can make maybe a short introduction on that. So it's indeed an Italian research center based in Rome, but I belong to their office in Brussels, where I'm leading the research unit on labor market and skills. And yeah, here have been discussions around the mobility, etc. So I'm probably example of the cross-border worker, as I'm from Latvia. I work in Brussels for Italian company, but I'm living in Lille in France. So that's an example that, yeah, there is collaboration possible. And we have the final, the panelist on the stage. I'll make very short introduction, basically to explain what we will cover in this panel. So in a way, it's also linked a bit with the discussion, collaboration with industry, because education and researchers providers are not collaborating without discussing the needs of the industry, especially when it concerns such sector as defense. I have in mind 2 rounds of questions in this panel. In first round, we will focus on understanding the existing landscape of defense, education, and research cooperation in the EU. We will explore a bit the integration of policies, the creation of international networks, and the challenges institutions are facing in collaborating across borders. And then, in second round of questions, we will shift from identifying challenges to more discussing solutions. So to give an examples, and this second part will focus more on practical measures to foster innovation, possibly standardized defense education, if possible, and enhance collaborations through exchange programs and dual degree initiatives. Overall, the aim is to have some insights into what measures are contributing or could contribute to a stronger and more unified EU defense education ecosystem. Let me first introduce the panelists. Professor Foteini Asderakis, sitting next to me. Professor is the director of the Master Program in International and European Studies at the University of Piraeus in Greece. She's a Jean Monnet Chair on Education, Training, Research and Innovation Policies of the EU, and she's also elected Chair of the Doctoral School of European Security and Defense College in Brussels. Professor Chrysostomos Stilios is the director of the Industrial Systems Institute at Athens Research Center and professor at the Department of Informatics and Telecommunication at the University of Ioannina in Greece. His main scientific interests are linked to AI, big data analysis, Industry 4.0 technologies, biosignal processing and analysis, education methodologies and tools, and other related topics. Mr. Paul Mandras joined the Euro-Atlantic Resilience Center in 2023, where he is a senior expert of the research, analysis, and training at the training department. He has previously worked also for around 20 years at the Romanian Ministry of National Defense. His areas of expertise include defense intelligence analysis, military security and diplomacy, as well as educational management. And Dr. János Szétényi is educational researcher since end of 80s, 89. In 1993, he established the first education consulting company in the post-Soviet area, and since 2021, he's director of the newly established Learning Institute of Matthias Corvinus Collegium. In military field, he's expert of military education, including standards, curriculum development, and evaluation. So thank you very much for having me as a moderator of this panel. And let me start with the first round of questions I may address to Professor Asderakis. How can EU education and training policies better integrate with defense research and innovation to address both immediate security challenges and also long-term strategic goals?
Big question. Thank you, Lega. I would also like to thank SEKPY for the kind invitation. So I will start with 2 initial remarks. I will not say something new. We live in a multipolar, volatile environment, and the geopolitical rivalries dictate the need to build a new European security architecture and to make the European strategic autonomy real and effective and not just a buzzword. A great part of this is to build strong ecologies of knowledge and innovation. my second remark is that we face a quickly evolving complex threat landscape, characterized, of course, by territorial threats such as regional crises and wars, and high seas and outer space threats, but also hybrid threats, including cyber and communication, and threats stemming from environmental degradation, pandemic, and so on. So what I want to say, my point here is that the defense sector is no longer limited to producing equipment for armies, but it is widening. It became cross-sectoral, and it needs cross-sectoral cooperation, and of course, cross-border cooperation. So the providers, the defense providers should adapt to these new challenges, and also universities and educational providers should also adapt in these challenges. However, the defense sector remains a very sensitive one. It's linked with national sovereignty, also with the European sovereignty. It's linked with the core state powers. So it's a very, very sensitive sector as regards openness. It's not so easy to open this sector to cross-border cooperation. However, we have to find a solution on this. As Christina mentioned, education and training policies are supportive competencies at the EU level. Actually, it lies in national competencies, so synergies between ministries and educational providers is a must. We heard a lot about skills shortages, and I very quickly searched a little bit, and I found the participation in tertiary education in Europe by field. Do you know which one is the #1 field of study in Europe? Business administration. #2, engineering in construction. #3, health. #4, art and humanities. #5, social sciences. #6, education. #7, ICT, natural sciences. #7, actually, it's natural sciences and mathematics. And #8 is ICT. So we must do something. I agree with Christina, we must begin from the kindergarten, and we must identify talents in Europe and also creative minds. It's not only about ICT skills, it's about creative and innovative people. This is very well connected with soft skill. And apart from the educational system, we all know that the US is the leader in new technologies, but also US companies are leaders in attracting, retaining, and also reskilling and upskilling researchers. So what we should do in Europe, we should mapping our needs. We have diversified needs according to our European and national and local level. We must set policy priorities. We must develop national plans in parallel with a European one. We should also enhance and create cross-border synergies and cross-sectoral, of course. And we must invest in research and innovation. And we must also give extra funding for European projects, because through European projects, all these synergies are fueled and enhanced.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the examples of some European projects also could be mentioned later in the panel. I wanted to ask Professor Stilios about your experience from the research center. What role do research centers can play and are playing in facilitating this collaboration between education providers and, from another side, defense industry, and how this collaboration could be enhanced more at the European level?
Okay. Thank you very much I would like to thank SEKPY for inviting us for this in this interesting conference, and myself in the panel. I come from university as a professor, but also I'm for the last 3 years director of a research institute. The role of a research institute is between universities and industries in generally. That means that universities produce the basic and advanced knowledge, and research institutes are the ones who transfer this knowledge to the industries generally. But this is not exactly the case for the defense sector. The defense sector is another case. Actually, there is not any university department. There is not so many university departments focusing on defense sectors. As an example, a graduated from a chemical engineering department can find easily himself and adapt himself in a chemical industry, in a petrochemical plant, on a pharmaceutical industry. But defense industry requires many different diverse qualifications and skills. And it is a complex industry by itself. So that the role, in this case, the role of research institute is much more important in supporting the young graduates from the university, even young engineers or PhD students, to support them to enhance their own qualifications, to gather different diverse skills, so that to fit to the defense industry. For this reason, I think that it is necessary to have some new at European level policies to encourage this kind of collaboration, to encourage the collaboration between university departments, research centers, and defense industry. And we have to have in mind that this procedure has to be a lifelong learning procedure. That means it is necessary, it is not something that it has to stop, and, but to continue this learning procedure. In order to succeed in this, we have to encourage, to create some joint master courses or some joint PhD research. This is the case of industrial PhD case, and the joint PhD research, the suggestion is to be collaboration between all the three ones mentioned. That means university, always universities the ones that are able to deliver the PhD degree, the research centers, and the defense industry.
Thank you very much. Also want to encourage panelists to reflect wherever you want on anything that was said before. Mr. Mandras, I wanted to ask a bit you about the role of international defense education networks and what these can play vis-a-vis ensuring that the sector has the skills and knowledge it requires, and who needs to be involved. So from your experience, what are the main challenges in building such networks so that they work effectively, and how these challenges could be overcome?
Yes, thank you. And I thank the SEKPY Association for inviting me here, and I'm actually really glad. So I represent a sort of social studies research organization. We are a government organization. We work under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it was conceived as a sort of an umbrella, a support from different type of institutions in order to increase and deal with resilience. So within this center, I represent the contribution of the Ministry of National Defense. We have colleagues from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, obviously, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of the National Intelligence Service and other colleagues from universities and so on. So, some of the challenges I think that have priorly been mentioned in the previous panels and even here, like the cooperation and how exactly to start with this kind of cooperation, which is the mindset. And I think that here I can provide sort of an expertise. I would start with something maybe a little bit unusual, which is the fact that according to the latest GlobSec study in Romania, 41% of young people that are aged from 18 to 34 years, it was a survey actually, think that a totalitarian regime would be a good thing. At the same time, according to an international evaluation in education conducted by OECD, which is the PISA, this is how we call it in Romania, the 2022 results showed that 42% of Romanian graduates lack literature literacy compared to 26 in OECD average, as well as 49 lack math literacy compared to 41 in OECD. At the same time, maybe you know, we had the presidential elections on Sunday. It was the first round. And 31% of voters aged 80 to 24 voted for a far-right extremist candidate this Sunday, and he was placed the first. So the question is, why is all this happening? I presented the situation for Romania, but I'm convinced that for each country there are data and we can analyze them. I would say that maybe we have a lack of comprehensiveness in education. And what do you mean by that? Usually in social sciences and researchers and academia, we like to define the terms to know exactly what we are dealing with. So with your permission, I will do the same thing. I would say that security has three main components. And the first component is the reality as it is, with opportunities and threats. The second component is the awareness of this reality. What exactly do we understand of the threats? What do we understand of the opportunities? Do we take them? Do we not? And the third component is the policy. What we do about it? What are the measures we take in order to increase our security and, I would say, resilience? I think I've heard this term so far more than 20 times, which is, it shows its significance. And I would also remind a concept that was developed about 35 years ago by the European School of Security Studies in Copenhagen, which is the concept of societal security, which basically defines security in five big fields: military, politics, economy, social, and environment. I would add that to these five fields, we have now the digital field, and also I would emphasize the fact that we are currently living a digital age, like it was previously said, and also this digital age means that we are facing a hybridization of war. So what do I mean by this? My perspective is that we can have the best defense technologies, but without strong societies, it would mean much less. So I cannot know exactly what to say. So what exactly hybridization means? It means new military technologies, obviously, it has been previously discussed. It means new means for conducting intelligence activities. It means an informational war, and from this perspective, I would emphasize a sort of a war on attention we are currently living. We are just pushed with all sorts of information, and it's more and more difficult to remain aware. and supply chains, and so on. So basically, resilience needs to integrate all these types of facets of new type of conflicts and this new type of hybrid warfare. And in order to better integrate it, it has to apply it into its defense education system. So basically, to answer the question, the main challenge is the fragmentation and lack of coordination of education. And my suggestion is that a prepared educational system in defense has different types of layers. And obviously, we have discussed about the military layers, and we need more involvement in the academia, we need more training, we need more cooperation with military research institutes and also civilian research institutes, and cooperation with civilian academia and different types of technologies have been mentioned here. And I would also like to add not only these new types of technologies, ADT, but also forensics and cryptocurrencies and so on. Cooperation with social, political, and economic academies, cooperation with NATO, let's not forget about it. And not lastly, I think we need to try to develop a novel type of security culture in order to increase the awareness and also to increase the responsibility. So to conclude the question, we need more coordination, we need more cooperation, we need more financing, and because here in the room we have executives from companies, I would say that financing this cooperation would have the best return of investment.
Yeah, thank you very much. In the second round, I think we will hear also more on what could be done and already good practices. Dr. Setini, I have a question for you. So there have been concerns, or let's say discussions about also opportunities to standardize curricula linked to defense, while on another side there is a need still to ensure that regional and national educational priorities remain central. How academic institutions could react on that, and what could be done towards possibly standardizing defense curricula in Europe?
Well, my advice is that don't standardize now. Let's wait a little bit until the Ukrainian war is ending, and then make the conclusions, and let's standardize later, because this is a very, very important moment. Everything will be different after that. But before that, the European Union has very well managed procedures for this curriculum harmonization or standardization. First, they start the best practices, as you know, then academic mobility, both students and the academic staff, joint projects, double degree programs, and what I prefer the most is the competence frameworks. When you let the national universities do their job, you don't want to interfere into their details because every academic institution is different, but you set up European competence frameworks in key areas of defense skills and competences. That is a very promising area. Nevertheless, I think in the past, we shouldn't start the standardization now because in the past 30 years, the global security looked in a very simple way. In a simplification, the United States provided the global security for the West, and then we participated in peacekeeping missions, the NATO member states. It's different now. And we have to prepare for a new era where there is a full-fledged continental warfare against peer enemies, not near peer, but peer technologically, sometimes better than we are. And the warfare is large-scale combined arms operation, where you don't need these separated high-tech areas. The key is how do you integrate them in the field. That's a totally new thing. So we have to absorb the lessons. And what we know in advance, let me have some predictions for the short-term future about that. One is that we need more STEM. We have a crisis of mathematics, to be honest, in the West. If you see the PISA results, but the most difficult part is that there is no crisis of mathematics teaching in East Asia. They don't know that it's difficult. And STEM is, of course, we take it together, science, technology, informatics, and mathematics, but the core part is mathematics, which is difficult. It's also a civilizational problem here. So we have a STEM crisis, and we are competing, as many participants today told you, we are competing for talented youngsters with the public administration and business life, but the pool is shrinking. That's not sustainable. So we need more talented people, hardworking, who understands mathematics. So that is number one. Number two, that when we are talking about STEM, and broadly in defense area, defense education, I have experienced in the past 10, 15 years an explosion of soft areas. International relations, global conflict management, security studies, and so and so. And maybe there are some persons in the audience who have this background, and I respect them. But probably, because after Ukraine, we need less people like that, because they brought journalism to the field, and we need more hardcore people who understand physics, mathematics, navigation, IT, the hardcore things, because we will have to solve problems on a different scale. I would emphasize one more thing in the curriculum. That's a prediction that we should have a part which is not high-tech, definitely, this kind of back to basics. Once we don't have GPS, because it will be destroyed within 2 days or 3 days in a potential conflict, we don't have GPS. Imagine the Navy and other people, land forces, without GPS, but yes, they should navigate. Back to basics. Those youngsters who were grown up with this digital culture and the GPS, they will have very big difficulties to solve this kind of elementary problems. And the last thing I would emphasize is the leadership problem. As I experience, according to my students, the current youngsters are very talented and nice people, but they have a generational program of taking responsibility. And that's not good in a conflict context or situation. So these leadership qualities should be strengthened in the curriculum. The last remark is that we should radically increase the number of people who might be interested about military education. And my advice is it's too late to start on higher education level. This is why my government in Hungary introduced a new scheme. We offer to vocational schools a program where they get extra funding and they can maintain their original vocational training like logistics or machine building and maintenance and these kind of things. But they, let's say 20% of their teaching hours, they provide some military modules, these light military things for those who are interested among the students. This is quite popular. And at the end, they make a basic military training and they visit military bases and so and so and so. That's an appetizer program. It's not serious, quite popular. But once those tasted this kind of meze, this in Greek, yeah, then they might have an appetite for a more military-oriented higher education.
Yeah, thank you very much. You touched upon very interesting points. I recently had exchange with the Ukrainian startup, and he said that I see in Europe solutions are developed assuming that the signal will be strong. But what do you do when there is no signal? So that's exact point that you mentioned, and also the increasing role of web providers. That it's already for several years we are discussing this topic, and there could be the space also for these education training providers to contribute to the skills development for defense sector. Continue on your points. Is there anything, so the geopolitical context is changing indeed, and you said for the standardized defense curriculum we should still wait. Is there any other steps so that let's say what can be done by education institutions to more address innovation and adaptability as a skill? So if you could maybe reflect on that straight away, and then I will ask Dr. Stilos to also reflect on the role of research institutions supporting these emerging technologies and addressing these in curricula. Yes, please.
So innovation. When you want to cooperate with universities, you must know that they have their own KPIs, key performance indicators, and their own pressures as a rector of the university or as a dean. It's not easy. Nowadays, the governments, especially now everywhere probably, they are looking at international league tables. Where is my university? Is it in the best 200 group, which is the case in my country, or are we going up in this ladder to the best 100 group of universities, which is the state policy? In order to do that, you have to publish an enormous amount of useless papers. Nobody reads those papers, and everybody knows that. But that's a huge pressure. And a lot of funding is up to that. It's not just special grants, but in many ambitious European countries, the government funding of universities is pretty much performance related, and really they measure this kind of quantifiable outputs of production, which means that it's not easy to go deeply in an innovative project with another sector which I don't really know. So that's number one issue, that we should change the incentive system of European universities. There are some countries, Netherlands is experimenting with that, and of course the Chinese are doing that. There is the slogan for them that universities must solve real life problems now. So they are on the top of this paper factory thing, but they are making now policy change to this more intelligent direction. We should follow this thing. The second thing is that there are some middlemen or practitioners who have some business in defense. They understand defense people, but they also teach in universities. And their prestige among the academic people is very low. So in the department or in the faculty, people don't like you because of that. They question your academic integrity and the identity. I think these practitioners, these middlemen, should have key position in that. One radical proposal can be that in a technological university, having outside external business with defense sector should be encouraged. It's not suspicious, but very positive. Do some business and teach part-time, because then you will understand defense sector. And the final remark is that the Americans also, always has been very good to create so-called sandboxes within the university, where the best selected students can play all kind of research, development, innovation projects with external partners. And although they visit seminars and lectures to some extent, but they have reserved times to develop new solutions together with practitioners and external business people. Americans created in MIT, they created these systems. This summer I visited Shenzhen in China. They're also doing it in technological universities. We need more sandboxes here in European universities where our best students are working with defense companies. It's not collaboration between two separate boxes. This was the old paradigm, but bring this whole thing into the university, and when they are on the second grade or third grade, in the middle of their studies, they're already doing innovation there.
Yeah, thank you. So Professor Stilios, if you can comment also the role
Yes,
of
actually,
research.
I would like to say that this is an old one slogan published of Paris. That means that in all universities, the KPI is how much we publish.
Yeah.
This is the ranking of our departments, of our universities, and this is what is encouraging. It is not encouraging the collaboration with industry in generally, especially in Greece. It is not encouraging the collaboration with defense or related to defense or security industry. This is a real problem that we have and we face nowadays. I mean that when we ask for colleagues from university to collaborate in EDF projects or projects that are related to security, it is not such man's weakness. And this is something that we have to change. I'm talking about Greece case. And what is also important is important that to focus more in industry generally, to focus more on producing patents, and in this case, and the IP rights. And for this reason, it could be very useful. It could be useful the research centers. Research centers are next to universities, not inside the universities, are very close to the industry generally, to the SMEs, to all the organization. And research centers like Industrial System Institute, where I'm director, have this potential. Answering to your question about cybersecurity, I would like to mention that cybersecurity, it is a subject that requires the collaboration of different qualifications, different skills, from mathematics, engineers, and so on. And this is something that it is not possible to create a cybersecurity department in the university, but it is much easier to have a joint master degree or PhD curriculum in collaboration between two departments, a mathematics department, an ICT department, and some real applications in a research center. This is something that, as Industrial System Institute, we are now preparing such a master degree for Greece, and I think that such master degrees, it will be very useful, especially for the defense sector. And this could be the case to encourage, to have some European initiatives to encourage this kind of collaboration of joint master degrees, and probably not only in national level, but in multinational level. And for this case, it will be very useful to utilize new technologies, new educational technologies. That means digital platforms, immersive technologies, so that in these joint master courses between research center, universities, university departments, among European Union countries, it will be very useful to create such degrees based on using the digital platforms and immersive technologies, and moreover, to share infrastructure. This is also very, very important, to share infrastructures and to train the young people in shared infrastructure in different countries, in different research centers, in different university departments.
Thank you very much. So I would go back to Professor Dirac, if there are any additional measures which you would like to mention, reflecting on the previous contributions, also what other exchange initiatives could be promoted by the EU level. And then I will ask Mr. Mandras about also a bit how you see the role of that kind of exchange programs also to support developing the exchanges for defense professionals at the EU level.
So the good news is that we have already done a lot at the European level, which means that we have established the European Higher Education Area. When I first participated in the Bologna follow-up group back in 2002, and we envisioned the creation of the European Higher Education Area, we said that this would never happen, but it happened. We have already structured the 3 levels of study, undergrads, master programs, and doctorates. We have joint quality assurance guidelines. We have also recognition rules. We have also established the European Research Area, and what we're trying to do now is to bridge the 2 different worlds of education and training and research. And this is what actually trying to do within the European Security and Defense College, which is one of the main providers as regards defense training. And I would like to mention that the military schools are innovators, because they have already introduced the international semester, and they facilitate the military Erasmus, so the military mobility between them. And in this venture, they also cooperate, and they are open to cooperate with universities and research center and innovation center, and also EU bodies like the European Defense Agency. And what is the main discussion now at the European level is the establishment of a European Defense Academy. We heard about the European Space Academy. We're discussing about introducing a European Defense Academy under the ESDC. It is like, I don't know if you are aware, but at the European education area, we have introduced the European alliances. What are the European alliances? Are universities, industries, and other kind of providers, research providers, and they are trying to introduce various types of learning opportunities for various target group of learners. Because in the defense sector, we have diversified group of learners, students, diplomats, civilians, military people, military staff, etc. So we have the tools there. We have already introduced joint master degrees through the Erasmus Mundus programs, through the European Alliance, and the trend now is introduce shorter courses, shorter modules. We call them micro-learning programs, micro-learning courses, which gives micro-credentials, because you know that knowledge is changing, needs is changing so fast, so we must think in an innovative way, and we must also provide short-term courses instead of long-term double or joint degrees. Of course, there is a necessity for this as well, but we should also cover short-term needs.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the micro-credentials offer is considered as a nice tool, but it's still, there is a way to have it accepted. And
just a final word that we have 2 very important platforms in Europe. We call it EURES, where someone can upload the CV and the industry can find him or her. And we have also EURAccess, which is a very important platform for researchers. So why not create or supplement EURAccess with a defense EURAccess, where industry can find well-educated, high-skilled researchers there.
Thank you for proposing already concrete solutions.
Yes, okay, so it's quite difficult to find a shared strategic culture, but indeed we have different types of initiatives at EU level, and they have been mentioned here. and we have these European strategies for universities that encourages the alliances. Indeed, we have the international semester for defense universities, and I know that in Romania there are initiatives for the land forces and for the air forces, and starting this year for air defense, and I know that in all these initiatives by the Land Academy in Sibiu or the Air Force Academy in Brasov, they are joined with our Greek partners. And even though they are quite recent, starting from 2022-23, they have increased in their reach of alliances. I would also mention something that hasn't quite exactly been said here, and this is the fact that we already have a sectorial qualification framework for the military profession that was developed under the Military Commission at EU level, and within this sectorial qualification framework, we have an EU executive group for member states to support them in implementing such qualifications. So there is a sort of a standardization, like you mentioned. From the academia point of view, this standardization is not something pretty well encouraged. But we also have models, and I would also like to emphasize a different type of model, and I think this differentiates the Euroatlantic Resilience Center both from academia and both from classic research providers. So we are not exactly bound to different academic criteria like how many articles we have published and how many words and in what journals. So we can go, let's just say, wherever we want or wherever we feel. I would like to give example of certain projects we have worked. One project is the Resilient project, which was aimed to train the government bodies and personnel working in the government bodies to familiarize them with the concept of resilience. A different project we are currently conducting is the ECHI Bridge project. So it's the perfect example for cooperation between research, governments, academia, and not in the last point, defense industry, because it is a project that it has been mentioned a couple of times here. It's a project that aims to create synergies in cybersecurity. And because if I remember well, Anna, at the beginning, she said something like the take back from the first edition of the conference was the fact that we need a shared platform to exchange ideas, to find projects and so on. I can say that this is the aim of this ECHI Bridge project, to finally find a platform and where specialists and representatives from different stakeholders to exchange ideas and find new ways forward, new projects. And not lastly, I would mention also a different type of project of this center that is aimed for young leaders, and it is called the Future Leaders Exchange Fellowship, and basically tries to provide awareness in the field of resilience. So,
thank you very much. I think we could continue still for more, but I saw that the back side we already have to
Somebody's
finish.
watching us.
So thank you. I think that the questions and answer session will be be left for the dinner's part. So thank you a lot for the panels. It has been a pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was also a great session. Next one, our final session for today. All right, are you still here? Oh, all right. So the last, not the least, focuses on making the defense sector an attractive career choice. Moderated by Mr. Antonios Mumbas, the session will feature panelists who will discuss strategies for employer branding, diversity, and career development. Dr. Theophilos Dimitriadis, who will discuss innovation-driven career pathways Mrs. Christiana Villen, who will address enhancing diversity and inclusion. Major General Panousis Georgios, yes, who will provide insights into leadership development, and Mrs. Anna Olofsson, who will share strategies for branding the sector as a desirable career choice. So let's wait for the lady and the gentleman to fix their microphones.
I hope you hear me. Kalispera σας. Good afternoon. I would say good evening to everybody. I will try to gain some time for the other panelists to get ready. I know that the audience is quite tired. It's the last one panel, so I will try to make it short and to get on the spot. Already two of the panelists, you heard them before, Christina Willem and Hannah Olofsson already presented some of their topics, their opinions. And we give them the floor now to exploit a little bit further what they said before. So, since 2015, when started in the European Union, the discussion how to enhance the European defense. It's a lot of, how do you say, contrary between member states, between representatives, how to move on and how to enhance the defense in Europe. The first way and most easy to co-decide and move on was to enhance the European defense industry. And of course, it was something which is missing before. How to provide some funds as accelerators to support and to initiate the productivity again, the European defense industry. Many of the member states, of course, they buy products and defense stuff from third countries and third providers, something which sometimes is useful, sometimes is weakening the European autonomy. The debate was mostly on this topic, and slowly we started in the European Union to discuss about the pilot projects, to see and test the environment. Then came the EDIDP, the first regulation, with the first projects for 2 years, and then the European Defence Fund, where actually came to support, fully support as much as they could with this fund, the European defense industry to restart in a way. Why I say these things, trying to get some time for my colleagues, is that to set the base for the further discussion, because skills in the beginning was something we didn't really discuss in the defense domain. And then when I met Christina in the commission, it had some discussion with her. I realized also how important it is to support this sector in the European Union. Having been responsible for a period for the ENDR network, I foresee that this topic, which we don't have to close it in one conference, and we have to continue it because it's for the new generation actually in Europe. We have to trigger the new generation to focus also a little bit in the defense industry, to gain skills and support the defense industry. It's an area which is in a way in the beginning, not in the beginning, but at least we try to restart it. And for this reason, after discussion internally, also with my colleague Alonso, we said, okay, let's put it also for second conference, why not a third conference after it? and we agreed in this direction. Thanks God also to the hierarchy of the Commission. And today we are here to move on with the next panel. Please. I hope that I gained a little bit the attention of the audience, because it's already late. The European defense industry requires a wide-ranging and continually changing array of skills to keep pace and the evolving defense landscape. As a result, the sector faces a number of challenges to develop and sustain the skills required to help safeguard Europe's strategic interests and autonomy. The demand of these skills is mainly driven by defense programs, national, multinational, and new and emerging technologies. Recruiting and training personnel with the optimal skill sets can ensure the sector has the equipment, products, and services required by the national armed forces of the EU member states for their operational and deployment needs, and not only. After the war in Ukraine and the situation in the Middle East, the demand for a self-sustaining EU defense sector becomes more realistic and demanding. In order to be self-sustained, we need to have both the end users' trust and preference, but also high-skilled people preference to get employed at all levels. Concerning the second part, we are here to explore what is this, which can create an attractive defense sector in the EU. Our subject at this panel is to try to approach and possibly answer how much we can affect the creation of this attractive defense sector in Europe. The panelists on this panel are officials and individuals with vast experience coming from the defense sector, from the armed forces, organizations, and defense industry. So, starting from the ladies, I start with Christina Willen, you listened here before, from the European Commission, DG DEFIS Policy Officer. Then this is Mrs. Hanna Olofsson, Chief of Staff, Swedish Security and Defense Industry Association. Then Major General Panousis Georgios, the Hellenic National Defense General Staff, Director of the 6th branch, which actually is the branch of Transformation, Innovation and Defense Technology. And Dr. Theofilos Dimitriadis, which is a Defense R&D Manager of I Know How, and it is ex-director at the Defense Investment Technological Research Division of the General Directorate for Defense Investments and Armaments in the Hellenic Ministry of National Defense. It is obvious that some of the key topics would be of the following. We need to define, establish, and achieve employer branding strategies in defense to enhance diversity and inclusion in defense organization, but also to focus on clear career development paths and growth opportunities. The panelists who participate in this discussion have been asked to consider the previous key topics to cover by sharing their opinion or approaching by answering the following questions. We discussed a little bit before, and we prefer to do it question by question in order to make it more attractive for the audience, but also more interactive if possible, if somebody wants to intervene. So I will start with the first question, and it is that what strategies are effective in branding and defense sector as an attractive career option? And I give the floor to Christina first.
Sorry, what was the question? Because that's not the order I had.
What strategies are effective in branding the defense sector as an attractive career option?
Thank you. Sorry, it's a bit late. It's been a long day, and I'm sure it's a bit late for you too. I'll be quick. I think that when we're talking about branding, it's both on a company level and on a sector level. And I think that Hanna will come back to what they've done in Sweden on a sector level. I think that's also very important. What I would like to say is that it's not only a question about branding, it's a question about walk the walk. The companies and the sector must be true to their branding. So you cannot say that you are a modern, high technology company or a sector and still work in a very old-fashioned way. I think that sort of young people will see through that. Also, you cannot say that diversity is important if you're not sort of actively working with diversity. You cannot say that sustainability is important and the higher management drives a petrol car to the company every morning. I think that is something that the employers will see through. And also, as we said before, it's not only about attracting, it's about retaining. So you must be true to your words in your branding.
Thank you, Christina, for this. And we'll go to Hannah.
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier this morning, we've been working for 5 years together as a sector to increase the attractiveness of defense. So it's us, it's the armed forces, it's defense procurement, it's the Swedish Defense Radio and the Fortification Agency. So every agency and company who has an interest in defense are working together in order to promote that. And I think it comes back to my main point in doing more things together. I think we're all in this room, we're competing among the same skills, about the same competences. But at the end of the day, at least in the Swedish context, we have seen results in doing things together in order to increase the pool of candidates that could even be interested in defense. Of course, it goes back to as well having those candidates from the start with. And in that respect, we just had a survey in Sweden checking at all the newly graduated engineers. Where did they want to work? And in the top 10, 8 of those employers were related to defense, both public agencies and companies. 4 years ago, it was only 2. So obviously, of course, there's a security environment working maybe in our favor, unfortunately. But I think also long-term strategies and being persistent in those ways has actually showed effect. I can come back to the initiatives later.
Okay, thank you. Dear General, please.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizers and especially SEKPY for inviting us here. The Hellenic National Defense General Staff is happy to support this great initiative. Well, I know that the dinner is next, so I'll be as brief as possible and to the point. My view is that we should give, or the sector should give initiatives and incentives to the employees, and especially highlighting the national security issue, which is very important, especially nowadays, considering all these armed conflicts in our neighbor. Also, we can focus or emphasize on the job stability. And of course, working in a high-tech environment, in the age of technology, with other, let's say, scientists or employees in the age of technology, it's helpful to attract also top talent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. And I'm going to Theofilos.
Thank you, Antonios. Many thanks again to the organizers for the kind invitation, giving us the opportunity to express our aspects. And I'll try, following the example of the General, I'll try to be as brief as possible, considering the lack of time. Yes, creating an attractive industry sector in general is a very, let's say, long-term and difficult process. And this, of course, applies to the defense industry as well. So we definitely need very effective policies, very effective strategies that will have very targeted measures which will take consideration of, they will focus on the particular advantages of the defense industry. And what are those particular advantages? We can identify them with different ways, for example, by conducting surveys or other means of investigation. And I will have, by this opportunity, to give credit to the European Commission and Madame Willem, who previously mentioned this very important survey of the European Commission, which is very targeted and will give very good results in terms of the satisfaction, which are the advantages that we will have to focus in setting up those policies. Now, the list of advantages is a long one. We could mention many things. In my perception, in my prioritization, I could mention, for example, involvement with cutting-edge technologies. Now, recognizing that those technologies are not present only not exclusively present in the defense industry, in the defense sector, but they are also present in the civil sector. But we can focus on those that have a dominant role in the defense sector, or they have a very good perspective for future development. Other examples and speaking about those dual-use technologies, we can also identify the advantage of career versatility, which means that an employee that knows that has a good knowledge and an expertise in a dual-use technology can always have the option to transit from the defense sector to other, let's say, high-tech roles. Or even we can talk about partnerships with industry leaders or many other things. The list, I do not want to exhaust this list, but identifying those advantages, then we have definitely to effectively communicate those advantages. And most of all, showcase some impressive success stories.
Success stories. Thank you very much, Theophilus. Allow me to summarize a little bit to come up with what you have said already. Starting with Christina, difference between sector branding and company branding, although they influence each other. Important not only talk the talk, as you said, Christina, but also walk the walk. Then I'm going to Hannah. Work on joint projects to attract new talent to the sector as well as retain the talent within the sector, showcasing various career paths within the defense sector, being present where the future talent is, and overall aiming at initiatives and branding that makes defense more accessible and lower the thresholds to get engaged. And then the General said very clearly that incentives must be given to highlight its commitment at the defense sector to national security and why not citizen protection, emphasizing job stability and showcasing its position at the front of technological advancements, which takes it an attractive factor for top talent. And then Theophilus concluded by identifying advantages of working in the defense industry, involvement of cutting-edge technologies, for example, and communicate advantages and showcase success stories to the people through social networks and media. So thank you for this round, and we go to the next question. How can diversity and inclusion within defense organizations be improved? And I'm asking you, Christina.
I start again.
As first
yes,
response.
So, what I first would like to say is that for many long time we've seen diversity as an inclusion as a question of right for the minority groups, and that is still very, very important. But what we also have to acknowledge, and which is becoming more important for the industry, is that it is the only way for the industry and for the organization to be able to recruit skilled people. Because we cannot the defense industry cannot any longer, and I'm going to be a bit provocative here, but recruit from white heterosexual men in Europe. And we need to look at the whole population, meaning women, meaning people of color, meaning gay or LGBTQA people. And it's not only enough that the industry is open for everyone, that the industry is diverse and inclusive, but it must also be known to everyone that the defense industry is that. I was on a seminar 2 years ago when there was a man, he was gay, and he said, no, when I look back, I don't think that I ever been discriminated against, and he had a long career in the defense industry. But when I started, I might have been afraid for that, and that might have been one of the reasons that I didn't go into the armed forces. And this is sort of, I think we all have to work with to show that this is an open defense, is an open sector, and it's also for our own sake we need to do that, because otherwise we will not be able to recruit from the whole population, which we need. Just one thing, the DEFIS made a survey 2 years ago for the whole ASD sector, including space. And in that survey, about more than 50% of respondents said that they had been discriminated against in their career. 50% had experienced discrimination. Now that can be because people that have been discriminated are more prone to answer a survey like this, but it's still a very, very high number. And of these, 73% of all women said that they had been discriminated against. And I don't think that anyone in here wants to discriminate women, but we sort of must work with our unconscious bias. So thanks for that.
Thank you very much, Christina. And Hannah, please.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything what Christina said. And add to that, without repeating her, I think it's a leadership question. It's not just something for HR communication department. It has to go through either your whole company or your whole organization. And therefore, of course, representation matter, but also to try to implement maybe mentorship programs or networks for people new to the sector. It doesn't just have to be in terms of your ethical background or your gender. It can also be that you're completely new to defense and the threshold is quite high to get into an organization or a company or an ecosystem that is a semi-tight-knit community where everybody knows someone by first name and don't maybe bother to explain the context of it. So leadership and world culture and a sector culture, I would like to add to that.
Thank you, Anna. Moving to the general, please.
Well, I believe that this requires a systematic and cultural change. And this is not easy. And can be done only if the organization sees it as a capability or an advantage, like trying to see the object from all the corners and all the points of view. For sure, we need campaigns for unconscious bias, for anti-discriminating, let's say, behavior. We need training for the employees. And for sure, we need to have policy on that. And not only announce the policy, but actually strictly implement it. And monitoring it with offices or officers on that.
Okay. Thank you very much, General. We'll go to Theophilus.
Yes, I will definitely agree with the General that this is a matter of establishing a culture. A culture is a difficult and long-term thing. So yes, it needs to implement policies with very well-defined objectives or key performance indicators if we want to do it more systematic, and also measure the progress, both during the recruitment phase, but also during the in-work performance evaluation. So we have to monitor those numbers, which is the number of participants or the percentages of participants, and from the participants from those underrepresented, let's say, communities in the organizations, and also, but at the same time, we will have to monitor also and maintain the productivity of the organizations, because let's be pragmatic. The owners of the companies, they have as a first priority the productivity and the profit, and I'm not sure that they are very well, let's say, prepared to compromise these for diversity and inclusion. But in any case, we will have to implement those policies and monitor the results. Now, if we want to analyze those elements of these policies, I could say, in my opinion, that learning to identify the somehow hidden capacities of those people coming from those underrepresented communities is a very important, let's say, incentive, is a very good measure. And I will bring an example from my previous career in the Greek Air Force. When I was a chief engineer in a fighter squadron, and at that time it was the first time that women were introduced in the aircraft maintenance. And you know, the attitude at that time was that, okay, this is not a women's work. They cannot do it very well. Because, of course, it was associated also with some heavy-duty works, some heavy lifting and all these things. And guess what? I found out, and it was no surprise that after some time I found out that many of those women could perform better than the majority of the male personnel. Okay, so, but we had at that time to, let's say, to realize in practice this and measure the productivity in order to be able to establish the added value. Yes. Yes. So yes, this is the
thank you very much,
change of mentality.
I will try to sum up a little bit, if possible, and I will start with Christina. That we have to realize that diversity and inclusion is important for the organization, not only for the persons affected, but for the organization itself. Consequent leadership and education praxis, including on unconscious bias. I'm going to Hannah, and to attract and retain more diversity, we need role models. We need to mentorship programs and networks for new talents, making sure the job advertising is targeting at a more diverse group. It's important to not only advertise and target a certain talent to increase diversity, but actually follow up and maintaining that after recruitment. What the General said is that improving diversity and inclusion in defense organization requires systemic and cultural change when campaigns must be undertaken to promote inclusivity. Also, the workforce must be trained in the concepts of unconscious bias, cultural competence, and anti-discrimination. Policies is clear that must also be reviewed. And then Theophilos, who also agreed with the General, and this is good for a panel to have a common, let's say, but in the same direction, because you were also in the armed forces, so you understood early the problem, and as I heard from your example, it found also possibly kind of solution when you had to handle this in the Air Force. Work on establishing a long-term D&I culture by implementing policies with well-defined objectives and progress measurement, identify hidden capacities of employees coming from underrepresented communities during recruitment in a work performance evaluation. And we're moving in the third question. What roles does career progression play in retaining talent? Christina.
Yes. So I think that career progression is an important part of retaining talent. I think that at a certain age, like mine age, sort of you realize that you have peaked in your career. I won't go on to become, I don't know, the defense commissioner at the European Union. So you have to have, not everything is career development. It is important when you're young. It's important when you recruit people that they can see a way forward. But then sort of when people grew up or became elder, they have families. It's also as important to have career. It is as important to have a work-life balance. So we have to work with those issues too. I think that there has been a concept or a perception that career involves become boss and then become a higher boss and higher management. So I think that not everyone is suited to become high management. Everyone doesn't want to. So we need to find also alternative career bases, such as becoming an expert and becoming more of an expert, or maybe that you can separate, you can be a mentor for people without having this formal hierarchy ladder. So I think that career is very important, but it has to sort of be interpreted in different ways because not everyone wants to be a boss. And in this respect, I also think it's very important to look at the people working in the production and in the maintenance, because when we talk about skills gap, we tend to talk about academia and researchers and development, but there is also an enormous skills gap in the production, and that can take very long. It's not like sort of you go in and then you're educated. It can take several years of on-the-job training to become a highly skilled producer, for example, of aircraft or fighter aircraft. So we need also to work with that part and ensure that they have a good working environment as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Hannah, please.
No, I think, of course, it's super important to not only have the possibility for career progression, but also the access to how to do that, both within your own companies or if you want to progress throughout the sector. And I think you can showcase that by being better at career paths within defense. But I would like to touch on Christina's point that is unfortunately not on your paper, Antonius, but the previous Supreme Commander of Swedish Armed Forces during the last conference had the similar point as Christina, that of course career progression is key for certain categories, but in other categories you have to create a work environment where you can still feel inspired and doing a good job, even though the job might not change that much. To be an expert in your field and be proud of that and build that proudness and not see it as a failure that you're doing the same thing for 20 years, but rather as a good thing for the ecosystem. We need both, and I think Christina makes an excellent point of that. And I think that point is easily to be forgotten.
Thank you, Hannah. Dear General, please.
Well, I had to agree with both of the ladies, and for sure career progression is a cornerstone for the organization, because it's what actually motivates the employees. And no matter the level or the field, for sure it's important. So I believe it helps to build loyal workforce, striving workforce, and also helps the organization. And it helps it in the way that it builds the future leadership of the organization and also the succession plans for each department of the organization, or for the organization, or for the head of the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, General.
Yes, in my opinion, the alignment of personal career aspirations, with organizational opportunities is a very important incentive towards retaining talent. This is so the important thing here is to understand that companies should very clearly emphasize and stress those perspectives for promotions in very attractive positions associated with benefits that employees are very willing to have. And those benefits are not necessarily financial benefits, economic benefits. They can also be other things. And I will recall again an experience that I had from my previous career. In the armed forces, I know many very talented people, very talented persons who work in the armed forces for very lower remuneration with respect to what they were supposed to be paid in the private sector. But they remain there because in return they may have, let's say, a broad recognition or a prestige, or even by this procedure, within this procedure, build up an experience and expertise that they will use later on after their retirement in the private sector. So, yes, we have to identify all those different, let's say, incentives.
Thank you, Theophile. And I will try here to resume what Christina says, important with several career paths. Not everyone wants or it is easy to be a traditional boss, but of course can contribute to the organization in different mode. Organization must take care and listen to all employees, not only the management. I will highlight it also to the Commission. And Hannah highlighted that it's extremely important. In the studies, we see that a common theme that young professionals want to seek career progression and what opportunities that might have in the future. Therefore, projects and initiatives that both showcase career paths within defense, also public and private, as well as a mix of these, and enables talent to stay within the sector even if they have changed employer is key. Except this, she highlighted the role of the boomerang effect. Then General clearly stated that career progression is a cornerstone of talent retention as it motivates employees. It also builds a committed, loyal, and capable workforce, while helping the defense sector plan for future leadership needs and ensuring effective succession planning. And Theophilos finalized the conversation with alignment of personal career aspirations with organizational opportunities, creates strong incentives for employees to remain with the company, and then career progression, respective, can even occasionally counterbalance lower remuneration for two different reasons, as he said. At this stage, we're close to close the program. Only one, allow me to give the floor a little bit to Christina to elaborate a little bit more in what she said before about the DEFIS survey on perceptions of the defense industry.
Yes, well, thank you for supporting this survey. As I said, we have worked a lot to find a compromise between what we can ask and how sort of still keep it so short that people will not lose their interest. So it's going to take 10 to 15 minutes to use that survey. I think that I have a lot of preconceptions, a lot of thoughts about what the perception among young people would be. And I think that I would be very happy to be surprised. Maybe it's not as bad as we all think that it is. Maybe, as in Sweden, the defense industry has become the most attractive sector to actually work in. So we have the survey, but I think it's even more important what we do after the survey and how we can work together to see how the Commission can support the industry and the National Defence Industrial Associations to both inform them about the survey and to see what we can do together. So I'm really looking forward to this. And we really need a high response rate. So be sure to disseminate and reply to it yourself, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you very much, Christina,
Thank
for
you.
this. Allow me from my side to thank a lot SEKPY, the European Commission in the face of Anselmo and Christina, and also Hellenic MOD, Hellenic National Defense Ministry, for this opportunity you gave us today to organize this conference here, and also for the trust you gave me, Mr. Rosoli, about to present this panel. And thank you very much for this.
And thank you.
Thank you.
All right. It's been a long day, but very interesting, I believe. Thank you very much for... Yes, please. Come back. Come back. We're not done yet.
Sorry, just
you have
a small question about attracting talent in SMEs, because you speak generally about attracting talent, but I think we have a big problem is that we have big groups that attract talent with salaries that are very high, and we need SMEs in which the innovation and the work is done as subcontractors of big groups. And also to retain the talent in the SMEs, because after 6-7 years working in the same SMEs, you have the predators that takes the talents inside the groups, and then it's very difficult for SMEs. So I think this is something that you miss in the panel, and I would like your opinion about how to keep the talent inside the SMEs and startup, and perhaps also the BAM accelerator and matchmaking of the DEFIS could be a solution to attract talent, to create startup in defense. It's late after Diana action, but at least it's the beginning of a new story.
Yes, thank you very much for that comment. I know it's a problem that we are well aware of, and I see that ASD's SME representative is now giving his assistance, so that's very good that we can do that. We don't have any easy answer to that, and I also think that, I mean, I can understand that from an SME point of view, it's a problem when people in the SME get recruited by a big company. At the same time, we cannot sort of stop people from moving around, and I think we should also look at ways of maybe making people go from big companies to SMEs, so it's not just sort of a one-way street. And I hope that when we do this survey, I put a lot of hope in the survey, as you can see, and maybe we can find out what attracts young people, and then we can find out from the people working in the defense industry to what extent they think that their employer as a big company or SME fulfills these perceptions and these wishes that young people and students have, and then we can sort of help SMEs to brand themselves in a way that big company cannot do. But it's very important that you sort of bring forward this question, and yeah, we will hope we can work together. We have, for example, we have an expert group in the defense industry, where I know we can also discuss this issue with defense industry. And maybe we can have another survey when we are done with this. It's sort of
just a quick
yes,
comment on that.
yes.
I will be super quick. But I mean, the Swedish ecosystem in defense is mainly consisting of SMEs. More than half of our members are SMEs. And when I speak to skills with them, one of the key factors we see and has been helpful is being part of an ecosystem, showcasing that you're actually part of something bigger, to piggyback a bit on the big dragons in the game, because they have way more budget for communicating. However, the small SMEs also offer something else. You're way closer to your highest management. You're closer to the innovation. So be able to be part of something like that. For us, when we go out to career days, most of the cases we go as an ecosystem. We don't go as Saab or BAE. We go together as an ecosystem. And therefore, we can also pull candidates between us. And I think also doing it as a regional focus helps, being close to the university, sponsor PhD programs, take in summer interns, long-term interns, and therefore also get a connection with the candidate you might want to employ. So multiple initiatives, but I mean, the big dragons also helps to promote the picture of defense.
Christina.
Yes, sorry, because I realized when Hanna spoke that within the Pact for Skill that I made a very, very short presentation of, there is also the possibility to have a regional Pact for Skills, meaning that in a region, which could be a country, a small country, university, education providers, big companies and small companies work together to have this sort of joint branding communication. And then they can get help from the Commission to sort of build this structure up. So yeah, I forgot that, sorry.
If I'm allowed to add something here. Yes, I will definitely agree with Hanna. And I will have to add also that, yes, the bringers of innovation in industry are SMEs. The innovation are actually based on the ideas of the SMEs. The big companies do not have this versatility of, let's say, bringing forward new ideas. So this is a very good incentive for an employee to be in. And of course, you can never exclude the possibility. Yes, of course, the remuneration is always, money talks all the time, okay. But you can never exclude the possibility, of course, of a very good, high talented employer from an SME to transit to another big company later on. But for the time that he is there, he will make the difference. He will have the opportunity to promote himself. And this is the important thing and the good motivation for this.
Thank you, Theophilus. And okay, I didn't surprise when I heard the voice of Stefan asking for question, despite the fact we have closed the panel. Mr. Stefan Claes is a director of System Factory in France, in Toulon, where actually is the next organizer of the skills in defense domain for the third part of this kind of conversation. So I understand also your motivation to make this question today. And allow me one more time to thank you, all of you, that you have the courage to stand us a little bit more than I had planned. And see you later on the dinner, possibly. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, now we can leave.
Now we can leave.
We have already closed. You were not here. So, good evening, and we'll meet all of us, not only tomorrow, but later on in the Officers Club. Okay, thank you.